Yesterday, Sayadaw spoke about what is jhana, and he explained the meaning of jhana in brief. Jhana is contemplation which goes close to the object and observes it fully. This is one of the literal meanings of jhana. And another meaning of it is that it burns up the obstacles to concentration called the nivaranas. And because it burns these up, it also is called jhana. So the yogis know this at this point. And of these two, of jhana, there are two types. The first called aramanupani jhana, which is the close observation or contemplation of conceptual objects such as kasinas. And Vipassana jhana is the observation or contemplation of the natural characteristics and common characteristics of nama and rupa, mind and matter. Path and fruition, magga and phala, are also jhana, but these are not yet our concern. So Sayadaw described that there are these two, aramanupani jhana, lakanupani jhana, and two other names for these are Samatha jhana and Vipassana jhana. So this is how Sayadaw spoke about it in this general way. And he hasn't yet spoken about what is the nature of Samatha jhana, what is the nature of Vipassana jhana, and how are they different. He hasn't gone into that yet. So today he will explain their difference in terms of both theory and what happens in the practice. In order to know the difference between Samatha jhana and Vipassana jhana, if we look at the meaning of the word Samatha and the meaning of the word Vipassana, we will understand something about how these methods are different. Samatha means to make things calm, to suppress agitation, to suppress things that cause agitation. In the area of the Dhamma, to calm the mind is good. And first of all, the body needs to be calm. It needs to be still. So in order to do this, we first of all go to a suitable place, a secluded place or a forest or a mountain. And we go to this place and sit in a suitable way. That is, we sit, in the text is described to sit with the legs so that they support the body, fold, cross-legged, but not with one leg on top of the other. Not with one leg pressing against the other, but one in front and one in back. Although the legs are bent, the back should be up straight, perpendicular to the floor, at 90 degrees to the floor, and the hands together. So we shouldn't move about or look here and there. We shouldn't move while we're trying to make our mind calm. And what we should do is put our notebook down while we're doing sitting meditation. We can't wait for something special to happen and then pick up the notebook during the middle of the sitting and write it down. Some yogis wait with their pen in one hand and their notebook in another, and then when something happens that they want to make a note about, they open their eyes and they write down. Okay. We can't do this. We need to keep the body still. So writing shouldn't be done during the sitting. And it's not mentioned in the text that we need to close the eyes, but there's no need to look at things. No, there's no need to see while we are doing sitting meditation. So it's good to close the eyes. And Vipassana begins with observing the apparent object. It said, Yatha Pakadan Vipassana Biniveso. That means that Vipassana observes the apparent object, whatever is most important, what is most obvious or easy to see. And the air element is what is the easiest thing to see. When we breathe in, the abdomen expands. When the air goes out again, it collapses. And this is something that is obvious in the body. So the yogi begins with this, and every time the abdomen rises, every time the abdomen falls, one applies effort and aiming in order to observe the object right at the moment that it happens. So this is the method of Vipassana. The method of Samatha is described in Pali as Pachanika Dhamme Sametiti Samato. And Sayadaw will explain about this. When we talk about meditation practice, there are things which are always moving, which cause agitation, and which are detrimental. There are 5 kinds of these things, and the first is kama chanda, or sense desire. We humans live in a world of the senses, and thus humans want to see good things, hear good things, smell, taste, touch good things, and tend to want better and better good things to experience. There's no limit. So kama and chanda are 2 words which have the same meaning. So when we use 2 words together that mean the same thing, then it means intense, that this is intense desire, not just ordinary. Kama means desire, and chanda also means zeal or desire. So using them together, it means an extreme type of desire. One tries to get what one wants, and one tries to get more and more. So in a world like this, a world of the senses, this is intense, this kama chanda. And if it is there in the mind, it will prevent the clean physical, verbal, and mental behavior. It takes the place of cleanliness. And when it is present, the mind is defiled. So people who have a lot of sense desire, kama chanda, it weakens their knowledge. It prevents them from gaining knowledge and weakens the knowledge that they have. So this kama chanda, or sense desire, at present it is overwhelming the world, and it is gaining the upper hand. It is gaining victory. When one sees or experiences in some way an object that is enticing, that causes lust, then one demands it, one wants it, wishes for it, and searches for it, tries to get it, and tries to get more and more. And when one meets up with something that is not to our liking, then there's displeasure, and if we have a lot, if we have to encounter this object a lot, then the mind gets depressed, which is the passive form of anger, vyabhara. And one can also have active, aggressive anger when one is dissatisfied. This too is vyavara. And as this continues, one feels resentment and then desire to harm others. All these are forms of anger or vyavara nivarana, the rotten mind. When this quality arises, the clean mind, the wholesome mind, is instantly prevented. So it is a very troublesome quality. Tina and Meda, sloth and torpor, also happens. Tina, Meda, or sloth and torpor, is the complete lack of eagerness to do anything for oneself, for others, or for both. Laziness, not wanting to do anything. So this can happen. The feeling that one just wants to take it easy. This is also called tendi in Pali, laziness. Sloth and torpor, or tina meda, is the nearest enemy to the yogi, because when we sit for a little while, our eyes are closed, of course, and then the mind just stops trying to observe the object. We fall asleep. So one doesn't know the object anymore when tina and meda is there. Virya is that which can get the upper hand over tina and meda, and its opposite is vitakka, or aiming. But when we are practicing jhana, this tina meda keeps us from focusing on the object. It blocks us. And then there's odicca kokocha. Odicca, when we practice, we need to keep the mind collected. If we don't do that, then we have odicca, which is the mind that has become separated from the object. When the mind is no longer collected on the object, but it becomes separated from it. For those who just let their mind go, they may spend minutes and longer, their lifetime, just thinking about things, letting the mind go from one thing to the next. This is no longer odicca, this is vikepa, the scattered mind. So first the mind becomes separated from the object. This is odicca. And once that happens, one can remember things one did that were wrong, and then one can have regret. When I was young, I drank, or I did drugs, or I did this wrong thing, I hurt that person, and so on. So we remember the things that we didn't do, that we did, or we remember the opportunities to do good that we didn't do. And this is kokocha, regret and remorse. So these two, odicca and kokocha, are qualities which prevent knowledge. It prevents kusala, the wholesome mind, from arising. These make the mind defiled, and they weaken our knowledge. And the last is vicikecha, or skeptical doubt. This is the quality that is unable to see true nature, and therefore it cannot decide. So it's wavering. And what it's like is when we try to place a ladder, we try to put a ladder, but we don't find anything good to rest it on. So we can't put the ladder up. So there's this mind is unable to decide about the object, so it's wavering. It doesn't know. So it's skeptical doubt, and it's a waste of time to entertain this vicikecha. This too is a quality which prevents the wholesome mind from occurring. It makes the mind unclean, and it stunts our knowledge. It weakens knowledge. Saddheya vatu are things that are worthy of faith because they are valid. And when one doesn't learn about these things that are really truly worthy of our faith, then one isn't able to decide. One doesn't know about them, and therefore one can't decide, and one wavers. And an example of this is the understanding that when we do something bad by way of body, speech, or mind, it brings bad results. And when we do something good by way of body, speech, or mind, it brings good results. It's like when we eat good food. Good food brings us good physical results, such as health. We can gain many benefits. It's obvious from eating good food. Similarly, when we do good things, they bring good results. And when we eat food that is bad for us, then it can cause us harm. It will cause us harm. It can even be quite dangerous. And if we eat something poisonous, then it can kill us. And it is similar with deeds that we do by way of body, speech, and mind. So this is an understanding, a basic understanding, that just the way good food and bad food has its good food brings us good results, and bad food, eating it, brings us bad results, so too with our behavior, physical, mental, and verbal behavior. The good behaviors will bring us good results, and bad behaviors bring us bad ones. So without this basic knowledge, then one will waver about doing things that are good. One won't be able to decide whether doing dana is good or not, for example. So here, when we do the practice, this practice is the development of the trainings of sila, samadhi, and panya. But when one doesn't know this, then one wavers about what we are doing. And this quality of doubt, wavering, is like trying to build a house in the middle of the air. These dhammas are base and they cause burning. So if one is involved in trying to do something good, wholesome, if these qualities just mentioned come in, then that wholesome mind has no chance to arise anymore. The mind which is clean, the mind which is gentle, cultivated, it has no place anymore. So these nivaranas, obstacles to concentration, are called paccanikkha dhammas. They are the ones that oppose the wholesome mind and the calm mind. So if these arise, they assault us. If kama chanda, sense desire, arises, then that assaults us. Kama chanda, then dissatisfaction over something, the mind that is separated from the object, remembering things we did wrong, regret and remorse, sloth and torpor, laziness. So all these things give us a lot of trouble. And what calms them is, first of all, vitakka or aiming accurately at the object. And the second quality is vichara. This is the mind rubbing against the object, sustained application of the mind on the object. If these two factors are present, then one will feel joy in the work that one is doing and in the results. and one will feel good, peaceful, and the mind will become collected, unified. So these are jhanic factors called in Pali jhananga. And when they arise, the things that oppose jhana, the pacchannika dhammas, they are suppressed. So this calming or suppressing of the opposing qualities is called samatha. And as we are doing now too, the opposing factors are being calmed by samatha in the practice. This samatha, if we're a yogi who practices Anapana, for example, we sit, as mentioned before, and put the mind on the nostrils. And we observe the air going in and out, which is a concept. We put our mind there and we observe this concept of the air going in and going out. One aims the mind so that it is precise, and this is vitakka. With aiming, the mind becomes concurrent with the object, sustained on the object, like it rubs against it. So one observes just this one object of the air going in and out. Or when one practices kasina meditation, meditation on anakasina, then one sets up the object to be observed, and then one observes it repeatedly, also using the name of the object. And in time, the mind becomes one-pointed, the quality of ekaggata. One-pointedness arises, and this makes the mind calm, so that it feels good. So with ekaggata, then piti, joy, and sukha are also present. Piti comes about because of the mind being concurrent with the object. So therefore one always has to aim the mind, and when the aim is accurate, the mind becomes concurrent with the object. So when that happens, with the quality of the mind rubbing against the object, then piti, joy, sukha, happiness, and the stable one-pointed mind, these all will automatically arise. So of these five, then the most important is ekaggata, this one-pointedness of mind. So therefore, if one wants to develop this one-pointedness of mind, what one needs to do is observe the arising object with aiming the mind so that it's accurate, making effort. And with one's accurate aim, the mind will come to become concurrent with the object. It will rub against the object. And from there, piti, sukha, and ekaggata will automatically arise. So if one understands that this is how to do the practice and what results, if one understands this and just applies the method, these results will come about. When samatha occurs one moment after another in a single object that one is contemplating in a close, concentrated manner, either the earth kasina, where one patavi, one makes this object in one's mind, or when one observes, like in Anapana, observes the breathing at the nostrils, the concept of the breathing. This samadhi that arises is called pabandha samadhi. The samadhi that occurs on a conceptual object one moment after another, using the method of samatha. In samatha, knowledge is present but it is superficial, so it is not capable of knowing ultimate reality. So basically, samatha is the focused observation on a concept. When using samatha to observe a conceptual object, this paṇḍitā samadhi that arises does not know nama and rupa. It does not know how they are related as cause and effect. And it doesn't know how nama and rupa, which are related as cause and effect, are impermanent or suffering or lack a self. It doesn't know the individual characteristics of nama and rupa, and it doesn't know the common characteristics either. It doesn't know anything. And the paññā, the knowledge that arises during samatha is called Jhana samadeti. The samadhi or ekaggata that occurs in Vipassana Jhana is called Khanika samadhi, or momentary concentration. It arises when one observes the nama and rupa, mind and matter, which are really there when they arise, with aim and art and effort. And when one does this repeatedly, many, many times, the mind falls collectedly on the arising object. It falls on every rising, every falling, stiffness, tension, hardness, softness, solidity, one after another. In each moment, on the ever new arising object, the mind is falling collectedly. This samadhi, or ekaggata, it just occurs for a moment. It occurs moment by moment. And this is the samadhi that the yogis are now working to establish. The yogis are now working to establish Khanika samadhi, this momentary concentration. So with every new arising object, the yogi applies effort and aiming. And this is done to establish Khanika samadhi. Because of applying effort and aiming every time the object arises, the mind becomes concurrent with the object, and it then falls collectedly on the object. But it is not falling collectedly on just one object. The yogis use the main object like an anchor. That's the main thing we observe, but one observes all the other objects that arise too. So Khanika samadhi is also the samadhi that we develop at this time is Khanika samadhi, momentary samadhi, and it is also called Vipassana Jhana. Sometimes yogis who have practiced samatha and developed this paṇḍitā samadhi, and they've gained samadhi using samatha practices, when they come to practice Vipassana, they think about, is this really samadhi? Can we really develop samadhi like this? How can this possibly be jhana? So they think about this, and the reason for this is that they do not understand that there are two types of jhana. One is Vipassana jhana and the other is Samatha jhana. So not understanding this difference, and they reflect a lot about whether this is really jhana. And some yogis, they have not yet seen nama and rupa. So they're noting, they're applying, they're reciting the labels, but they haven't been able to observe anything yet. And so they wonder, is this method really valid? So tomorrow, Sayadaw will explain about this. Today, he hopes that you will be content with hearing about Samatha and Paṇḍitā Samadhi that occurs in Samatha. And tomorrow, Sayadaw will explain about Khanika Samadhi and how, when Khanika Samadhi becomes strong, Vipassana knowledge arises. That's all for today.